Hey there, are you planning to move to Alaska, but you heard a thing or two that has you a little bit worried about the move and now you're kind of rethinking it? Well, we've got some updates for you for 2024, so stick around. Hey there, it's Justin Heminger with Apex Realty Group at Real Broker, and we've been guiding folks through the process of buying and selling homes in Fairbanks and North Pole for about the last 10 years. If at any point in this video you've got questions about the local real estate market, drop them in the comment section below, or you can give us a call at 907-885-0316. You can also find our website in the description if you want to view all the latest properties for sale in Fairbanks and North Pole. Let's get into it. So depending on the time of the year that you get here, you're going to have a love-hate relationship with the sunlight. If you get here in the middle of the summer, you're going to have this awful time trying to get to sleep at night. You're going to do everything that you can to cover up your windows. You'll put like aluminum foil on your windows. You'll tape all kinds of stuff up there to keep the sunlight out just so you can get some sleep. In the summer, we get between 20 and 21 hours of like straight daylight. And at first, it's overbearing. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so much sunlight. I can't stand it. There's no way I'm going to be able to get to sleep. You'll be walking around all like bleary-eyed and like a zombie for a little while, and you're going to hate it at first, then you'll start to like it, and then you'll love it, and then you'll start to depend on it. And that's where it gets you. The first taste is always free. And once you've had a taste, that's when it starts to kind of take away from you. But just as the Starks would have us remember, winter is coming, and when it starts slowly, and before too long, the days get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And that's when you're like, where'd my sun go? I don't see it. Nothing's bright anymore. Everything is dark and it's cold, and this is awful. So if you get here in the winter, you're like, well, this is kind of sucky. You know, I can't see anything. There's never any sunlight. It's always cold and it's always dark. This kind of sucks. And it can be pretty awful. And when folks are first getting here, if they get here in the winter, the first winter can be the hardest one. And, you know, seeing more and more of your daylight go away is really tough. But starting December 22nd, right after we get over the winter solstice, we start to get more sunlight. And it doesn't seem like much at first, but it starts small. But just as it went away, it also starts coming back. And before too long, we'll start getting into like February, and that's when you really start to notice it. It's like, oh my gosh, it's a little bit brighter today. And then you get up the next morning, oh my gosh, it's a little bit earlier. And you're right at about 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of darkness. And March is like the big kickoff time, because it is a great time of year. And because not only do you have a lot of daylight, but it's also starting to warm up a little bit. So you'll be in this situation where it's like 30, 40 degrees and it's warm outside and it's daylight. Or you've got a lot of daylight. So you can go outside and play in the winter in Alaska. And there's a lot of cool stuff that you could do. Speaking of cool stuff, if you want to take a look at this video here are a bunch of activities that you can do by yourself, with a group of people, with your kids, in the winter in Fairbanks, and you're going to have a great time. Now, the next reason on your list why you might not want to move to Fairbanks is the people. Believe it or not, the last time I made a video talking about the people of Fairbanks, I got a little bit of flack for doing it. And I figured that I would use this opportunity to set the record straight. Just kidding, I'm going to double down on it. People in the interior of Alaska are a special kind of weird. And when I mean special, I mean like kind of the best people in the world, in my opinion. Now, we may not be like Portland, Oregon, or Austin, Texas weird. But when you think about how remote we are here in Fairbanks, Alaska, the interior, we're about 350 miles from the next largest city. So it takes 45 minutes to hop in a jet and fly to Anchorage. That's our closest, nearest major city. We're super remote. In other words, because of the remoteness of the area, we've attracted a lot of people that are just kind of looking to be on their own. They want to be left alone. And when a lot of people come to the same place to be left alone, well, a lot of people just kind of want to be left alone. And what this has created is a pretty large community of people that just kind of take care of themselves. So what you're going to end up finding is, unless you go out of your way to introduce yourself to your neighbor and anybody else that you may meet, you're probably not going to meet too many new people. I only know a few of my neighbors' names, but that's only because I've gone out of my way to introduce myself to my neighbors. and I knew a few of them before I moved into the area. But all of that being said, it doesn't mean that just because we don't know who our neighbors are, we're not going to be there for them if they should need help. Because that's one of the cool things about a community of people that are here to survive on their own. They know that they can't survive on their own. And majority of the time, they'll pitch in and do pretty much anything that they can to help out their neighbors. One of the things that I recommend that you do is join your local neighborhood's Facebook group. For instance, I live in the Chena Ridge neighborhood, and I'm a member of the Chena Ridge neighborhood Facebook group. And within that group, we'll see posts all the time of people asking for help and other community members and other neighborhood members, jumping to help them. We'll see people off the side of the road all the time and a stack of cars behind them waiting in line to help them. I'll carry chains in my truck, and my wife carries chains in her truck, just on the chance that we may have to pull somebody out of a ditch. You'll always find somebody willing to help somebody else here in Fairbanks, because that's what it takes for the community to survive. Community is a huge factor here in Fairbanks. We will absolutely jump at the chance to form a community. Whether it's running club at your school, skiing club at your kid's school, there's always something to do at a school for certain. One of the best examples that I know that I have personally happened when my family and I, we lived in Salcha, just outside of North Pole, just past Eielson Air Force Base. We had a chimney fire. We called 911 and evacuated our home, and then pretty much every one of our neighbors within a mile or two radius of our home came to our house, because most of them were also members of the local Salcha Fire and Rescue. And we didn't know half of them, but they all came to our house. Here's a picture of them. They all came to our house to make sure that we were safe. And they had their vehicles running, because this was in the middle of the winter. They put the fire out. They took care of my family. They put my family in their vehicles, kept them warm while they put the fire out, and took care of us like we were their own family. We didn't know who they were, most of them. And we're a community of folks that want to be left alone, but we're also a community of folks that will jump in and lend a helping hand the second that anybody needs it. They were able to take care of us, and we would have done the same thing for them. And that's just how it is. Oh, before I forget, we just updated our Fairbanks relocation guide. It's packed with all kinds of information that you need to know if you're planning on a move to Fairbanks. Click the link in the description below to get your free copy. Also, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more Fairbanks-related real estate content. Next on our list of reasons why you might not want to move to Fairbanks are wildfires. Now, a lot of areas all around the US and the world in general are burning every summer wherever they're experiencing summer, and Fairbanks is no different. Sometimes in the summer, in the particularly hot and dry months of like the last 2 weeks of July and the first 2 weeks of August, we'll experience a spike in our wildfires. Sometimes when these fires are close to town, it can be really smoky in town, and it can be kind of sucky. It's not great. But the thing to keep in mind is that fire is a natural occurrence. It's been happening since well before we got here, and it's going to happen well after we're gone too. Now, the thing that you could be wondering is, well, if I buy a home here, is this something that I have to worry about? Is fire going to get so close that I have to worry about, a loss of my own property? Well, I suppose it is entirely possible that a wildfire could get out of control and it could wipe out all of Fairbanks. Sure. It's also possible that a wildfire in the lower 48 could get out of control and wipe out all of California and Washington and every major city in America, I suppose. Also within the realm of possibility. But majority of the time, the fire service is working round the clock to make sure that there is an absolute minimal loss of any kind of property or any life whatsoever, if any. That being said, though, while they're doing that, we may experience a little bit of a smoky day, or a couple weeks here in Fairbanks. And without that fire, we wouldn't have this huge amount of regrowth that happens following a fire. And that regrowth is amazing. But like I said before, this is a natural occurrence. The very next year after an area is burned, that same area will be covered in lush green willows. You'll see an increase in fireweed, which is gorgeous. Check this out. And you can go check that area out for morel mushrooms. Great place to go hunt for mushrooms is an area that was burned last year. You can get bucket loads of morel mushrooms. We'll have to do that this year. And you can also see all kinds of other gorgeous plants and animals. Because of that fire, we'll see a huge regrowth, and it ends up being a natural cycle that Alaska and Alaska's plants and wildlife really depend on. And without that fire, we wouldn't have that gorgeous cycle of regrowth that we really need. But I mean, we also really need it to stay away from our property and our people. Bugs. Now, when we did this one last time, I talked a lot about, mosquitoes, and I'm certainly going to talk about mosquitoes now. But we can do a lot of things to make sure that we're covered in mosquito spray or bug spray, and that'll keep mosquitoes away from us. We've got some techniques that I'm going to talk about here in a second that will keep mosquitoes away from your house, kind of no matter how bad they are. But if you are out in the middle of nowhere and you cover yourself head to toe with any kind of bug spray, you may keep those mosquitoes away. But the mosquitoes aren't going to be the thing that are really going to bother you. The little gnats and the flies are going to be the thing that really get you. And you will sit there, be head to toe, just like covered. You could empty a whole can of spray on yourself, just really getting it in, and you'll really feel comfortable and like, all right, I'm ready to go do some fishing in the middle of nowhere on this random creek that I just found. Let's go catch some grayling. And you're going to go do some fly fishing. And then you'll get out there and you'll be sitting there like this, trying to fish, because you may not have a single mosquito on you, but the billions of flies are trying to get in your mouth, in your nose, in your eyes, in your ears, and they just won't leave you alone. And it's the worst thing in the world. But you can get a head net and put that on you, and that'll keep the flies away from your face, or the gnats away from your face, and that makes it a little bit more tolerable. Put on some gloves, duct tape them if you want to. That'll keep them off of your, from getting into your, your hands and getting in at you around the wrist, and it'll keep them off your face. And that makes it so much easier. But mosquitoes are bad. We can keep mosquitoes off of us. No-see-ums and gnats and these little tiny black flies are the worst. Now that we've covered that, let's get into mosquitoes. So the running joke in Alaska, and we talked about this before, is that mosquitoes are the state bird of Alaska. And it's not really true. But there's really no way of getting around them. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, or if you're just in your backyard, they're going to be there. For me, it's kind of a curse that I have. Everyone over there could be completely free of mosquitoes. It could be a super windy day, no one's having a problem with mosquitoes, and I could be standing here just head to toe covered in mosquitoes. It's the worst thing. But the only blessing that I've got is that when they bite me, I don't itch. So I got that going for me. So a few things that will kind of reduce the mosquito problem that absolutely do work. Thermacell works really well to keep mosquitoes away. I experimented with essential oils like peppermint and like tea tree. Those things did not work. Deep Woods Off really works. But if you're thinking about a solution that you want to be like, okay, well, I want to cover my entire house to make sure that I don't have any problems when I'm out like mowing the yard or just out playing with the kids in the backyard. One thing that we found works really well, especially this past summer, is planting both lemongrass and citronella plants in large planters around our yard, because both of those plants will actually be a natural insect repellent. And it worked really, really well. The best example I have of this is that I went to take a look at a house way back on Haystack Mountain. And it was this huge shop and a lot of outbuildings on this large parcel. And as we were walking around on looking at all of this property, the seller was like, hey, do you notice that you're not getting bit by any mosquitoes? You don't see any bugs that are eating you alive right now, because it was middle of the summer. I did not notice that. That's amazing. Tell me, what's your secret? And he said, if you look around all over my property, you'll see tree swallow boxes. I said, tell me more. I'm intrigued. A tree swallow will eat about 60 mosquitoes an hour, so about 850 mosquitoes a day. Every tree swallow box that he put up, he'd have a family of tree swallows that would nest in that box. He had 30 or 40 of these all over his property. So he didn't have to invest in any kind of off or any kind of other mosquito prevention techniques whatsoever, because these tree swallows were working for him, and they were happy to do it, because it was all you can eat buffet all day, every day. Now, that's a natural solution that will literally feed itself. You just have to build the boxes. But if you're looking for something a little bit more hands-off, there are services in town that will come out and spray your whole entire yard with a mosquito spray solution, and you'll be able to ride out the entire summer without having any issues with mosquitoes. They'll have to do it a couple of times depending on, the rain because that solution will wash out and it'll eventually dissipate. But that's also a thing that you can do. The only thing that I can recommend though is if you do go that route, use a vendor that has a chemical spray that's a little bit more friendly to pollinators and to other insects. Because although those chemical sprays do kill, mosquito larvae and all those other things, they also kill all of the other bugs too. So that means all of your bees, all of your dragonflies, all other pollinators that are going around and taking care of the environment. So if you're planning on having a garden, well, you're not going to have any pollinators that are going to, go around, make sure your flowers on your tomato plant are pollinated. If you're thinking about having pumpkins, no pumpkins. Thinking you're going to have cucumbers, no cucumbers, unless you're going to go around and do all the pollinating yourself. And that's going to look really weird. Actually, one more natural mosquito prevention technique, just relying upon dragonflies alone. Dragonflies also eat a crazy amount of mosquitoes. And as you're walking through your yard in the middle of summer, you will, especially right after you mow it, you will see hundreds of dragonflies just destroying all of your mosquitoes. And if you spray your yard with these harsh chemical sprays, you're going to kill all those dragonflies too. So you may not have any mosquitoes, but you're also going to destroy all of the other bugs that are actually taking care of your yard too. Thinking about moving to Fairbanks? Well, click on the link below for my free relocation guide where I talk about top schools, top neighborhoods, and so much more. Next on our list, the toys. So Alaska is an outdoorsman's paradise. If you're an outdoors enthusiast in any capacity, then you can probably find your activity here in the interior of Alaska. And if you can't, then you're probably making it up. It's no secret though that in order to do all those activities, you've got to get all the gear that you need in order to participate. It makes it even more so given the fact that we live so far away from absolutely everything else in the rest of the world. Luckily with Amazon Prime, we're able to save quite a bit on shipping, but there are a lot of things that Amazon just won't ship. Like they're not going to ship you a four-wheeler, they're not going to ship you a snow machine, they're not going to ship you a truck or a trailer, they're not going to ship firearms. So those things, because it's so expensive to get things here, are a little bit more expensive. That being said, there is a way to get all of the things that you need to play outside on a budget. So taking a look at all of the different Facebook marketplace groups that there are for Fairbanks, and there are a lot of them. There are always folks that are looking to buy and sell gear within these Facebook marketplace groups, and if you're lucky, you can get a pretty good deal sometimes. Hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe to our channel for some more Fairbanks related real estate content. And if you know somebody that might benefit from watching it, make sure to send it their way too. As always, if you have any questions about the real estate market in Fairbanks, North Pole, or just living here in Fairbanks, you can always give us a call at 907-885-0316, or you can reach out to us on our website at www.fbxhomesearch.com. Thank you and have a great day.